Would you do me? I'd do me. What's up, Hanz family? In honor of the new Star Wars movie, thought I'd do a Star Wars tutorial, and this is going to be Darth Sidious. All product details will be listed down below as usual, and let's get to it. First off, you're going to need a really good reference picture of him. This will be your lifeline, alright? We're just going to make ourselves look wrinkly and old. He's not that cute, but I don't know, maybe if you look at him a different way, he's kind of cute. I also got to get my coffee ready to go, all pumped. I know Star Wars isn't Christmas themed, but it's coming out around the holidays, and this shit was already up. I'm not going to take that shit down, okay? So it's going to be a Star Wars Christmas up in the fucking Hanz family, alright? On that note, you just want to start with a little bit of foundation. I'm doing a light layer of my Dior Air Flash foundation in my color, but if you're a little darker skinned, you want to go a little lighter, just because he's very, very pale. And then to highlight even further, I'm going to mix a couple products. I don't want to go straight white, so I'm taking a little bit of this white cream paint, which is from Kryolan, and this NARS Creamy Concealer in Chantilly, which is their lightest shade, to mix together and start to go in my normal highlighting areas. I did decide to cover my brows, but until I'm very comfortable with my technique, I'm not going to really do a tutorial on it. You can find many tutorials on them, and I'll leave one linked down below. And then you want to set your face. I'm using the Laura Mercier setting powder, which is just translucent, pretty simple. Since he has so much texture on his skin, I want to go in with a fan brush and this Makeup Geek eyeshadow, which is in Vintage, and just loosely put a few little kind of dots and texture with that eyeshadow. This is Love Plus from Sugarpill, this bright red eyeshadow. I'm running out. Taking a fluffy brush, and I'm putting this all over my eyelid, which I put way too much of, and the brush had black in it, so it kind of ended up looking a little dark instead of bright red, which is okay. You want to go underneath your eye too, and you want to try to make your eye look kind of droopy. And then I'm going to take my foundation and kind of fix a little bit of the eyeshadow where I put too much, because again, we want the eyes to look downward. For this part, you're going to need a really thin angled brush. I'm using one from Obsessive Compulsive Cosmetics, which is now actually one of my favorites, and I'm taking Deep Plum from Anastasia Beverly Hills. We're starting to draw out the wrinkles, and I want you guys to pay close attention to kind of how often I am looking at my reference picture. This is so important because in order to get this character to look right, you need to try to look at this reference picture as much as possible so that it looks just like the reference picture. I've said it before, but a very good artist pretty much looks at the subject they're studying 90% of the time and, you know, the canvas 10% of the time. If it's not perfect, it's fine. Mine definitely is not, but it just really helps because he does have a ton of very definite features. Kind of has a little like butt chin going on, so make sure to draw that in. And with this, you really don't need much pigment. You're just taking a little bit and just to map out the wrinkles. The forehead I had a little bit of a trouble with just because he does have all these kind of bulbous shapes coming from the forehead and kind of over the eyebrows. So take your time with that and just really watch to see exactly how those little bulbous shapes are made. Use your own face as a guide as well. Even though we are trying to replicate someone's face onto ours, you still want it to fit your face. Here is where we are going to blend our lives away. I'm still using the angled brush, and blending with the angled brush is great because you can pretty much turn it to its side and it helps to blend out the pigment, and I'm not adding any more pigment, I'm just blending it. Skin moves in a lot of different ways, so pay attention to where the shadows are on your picture that you are using, because just like laugh lines around your face, the shadow goes downwards because the skin is pulling up, so it would cast a shadow down, if that makes sense. You can see I got a little confused here, trying to figure out exactly which way the shadow went, so really pay attention. Just like this part, this kind of brow forehead line would overlap on top of our nose, so we want a shadow under that, especially where your kind of eye sockets are, where the hollow goes down. And in between the forehead, we have these two big bulbous pieces, so that middle section would be a little bit darker. Some more advice I could give you is to take a shirt and just wrinkle up your shirt and see how the light and shadow moves on those wrinkles itself. We're going to start darkening and defining these shadows, And you don't need to darken and define every single one. Focus more on the ones that have a lot of shadow, that are deeper wrinkles. I'm still just adding more of that deep plum shadow from Anastasia, and we want to start adding more around the perimeter of our face. This is just because as our face curves back and on the sides, it gets a little darker. Just like if we normally contour, we kind of contour around the edges and sides of our face. Shadows aren't all exactly the same. So with some of these kind of bulbous pieces, I don't know what else to call them, on the forehead, some of the shadows are a little irregular. Some of them are much darker. And when you are doing this look, you can really focus towards the center, because if you were like I did, I knew I was going to wear a hood. So I knew I didn't have to worry too much around the temples of my face, but you're totally welcome to continue this all the way to your temples. When I get to some of the wrinkles and scarring underneath my eyes, I want to focus more of the shadow underneath the kind of center portions, because as the wrinkles go down into that large curve, kind of the deeper they would be. Keep making sure to check on your reference picture, especially with these shadows. You want to have the exact way it's going, if it's going up, if it's going down. And you know, don't be afraid to use what your mama gave you, alright? I use my fingers sometimes to blend out. It's totally easy and it's accessible. When you are adding shadow underneath a wrinkle, make sure you go underneath the wrinkle, but you don't want to leave a harsh line behind. That's not how skin works. Skin curves. The wrinkles aren't just lines in your face, the skin is curving around. So a little shadow would go upwards, and then most of it would go down, if that makes sense, which I hope to God it does. Just think of it like sculpting your cheekbones. You don't want to just have a line right under your cheekbone, or else you'll have maleficent cheekbones, which, hey, that's what you're into, cool beans. But to sculpt them properly, you kind of go up a little bit because they're curving around. I added in a few other little lines too, because if you look at him closely, he has all kinds of tiny little wrinkles too. There isn't any part of his skin that's really smooth, and especially add a lot around the lines of your mouth. I went in with a little bit more of that Love Plus eyeshadow just because the eyes weren't very red. They kind of still blended in with the rest of the skin. I wanted them to be super red, and ooh, got some right in my eye, so don't dance while you're doing this because then you could get pigment in your eye. And I put a few more little just random spots all over my face just to add more texture. He's a textured dude. Americano eyeshadow from Makeup Geek is this kind of dark reddish brown. It's definitely more brown obviously than red, but it's a warm tone. I want to take this very sparingly to go through and darken up the deeper wrinkles, mainly my laugh lines, the centers of the wrinkles under my eyes, and a little bit between my lips. I did decide to use a little bit of black eyeshadow, but use this extremely sparingly. Sometimes adding too much black can kind of drown out the colors. I added the tiniest bit of bitten just as a transition from that bright red to the darker eye sockets, and to help give a little more droopiness to the eyes. And then I did the same thing on the neck, just added lines and kind of went with the same creases that my neck has, blending them out. Just to make the look pop a little more, I am adding a little bit of white cream paint from Kryolan to a few little spots to highlight, but you don't want to add too much because it can really overpower the look. I just want to do this on a few of the little high points of the face. I popped in a contact, and then I started putting yellow cream paint on my teeth. Do not do this. Use actual tooth enamel that they have that's colored. I just didn't know where mine was. Then I added a little bit of eyeshadow on top too, just to make them look extra nasty, alright? And then you're good to go.
I got ill. I should have done that the whole time, you know? That black, should have already black on it. I can't talk.
And this, you guys, is the final look, the delicious Darth Sidious. Hope you enjoyed. This is a collab with my best friend Des. You guys know her as DEHSONAE. She did a look on Star Wars as well, so make sure to check her out. I'll leave her link down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!